This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For June 2nd, 2023, it's the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. Welcome back, everybody. Time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure in this house of cards that we've got stacked together, held together with duct tape, baling wire, and all the hopes and dreams we can assemble.
You sounded very unsure about the day or what it is we were actually about to do.
I had to scroll very quickly to find out what the hell's going on here.
That was a hell of an intro.
It was. Should have been here prior to that intro. It was much better.
Did you record any of that stuff prior to the intro?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. That ends up as the secret track.
There's golden stuff in there. Stay tuned,
there's stuff
everybody.
At the end.
Yeah. To find out what
like
happened
your favorite
before.
Nirvana album. There's stuff after the outro.
Remember those days where you had to listen to your records for an extra 30 minutes to find that little 20-second thing? You're like, I stayed for this.
This was it.
Secret track.
It was totally worth it. My name's Chris Decter. I'm joined today by Jamie, Marc, Larry, and Justin. And on today's show, we're going to discuss the challenges in hiring qualified AV staff at our institutions. We're going to talk about some student scholarship opportunities from Avixa. But first, screw it. It's the AV news. And it's consumerish and weird, but was noteworthy. So this article comes from AV Interactive. Link is in the show notes. The world's first 110-inch 16K consumer TV unveiled at Display Week.
Consumer.
It's consumer.
It is.
I do want to point out.
Everybody hear my yawn?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, 110 inches, whatnot. But what I think is notable from my perspective, it's in 16 by 9. Mm-hmm. It is not in the much vaunted end all be all. This is the future moving forward. 21 by 9.
Yes.
They're also lying about 16K. So we're
They're
only in the headline.
lying about consumer too, because if you read it, they say this is for data, not for video.
You don't do PowerPoints in your living room?
That's all I do.
Apparently, I don't. Yeah.
Where does it say the data part?
It's buried in there, it's under the lead.
It's secret.
It's we're not going to actually tell you what this is, but it's only a 60 hertz TV because you don't have a pipeline to get anything better than that. It's only a 400. It's a crappy monitor that just has a lot of pixels.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's the news.
Yeah. I did
the headline looks cool, but
the headline looks cool, but in the article, they're talking about how cool it is that you can get to where your nose is touching it and not see any pixels, which shows how useful the monitor is. I mean,
isn't that how you view all of your stuff, with your nose on your screen? That's pretty much typically how it works, right?
Yeah.
Larry, here's the line you were referring to. It says, the screen is likely supposed to be used as an informational display rather than a replacement for your living room smart TV. So don't trash the brand too hard for its efforts.
So who does digital signage in their house? This TV's for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Home digital signage. No, that's a market.
That's
home digital signage.
Just a big calendar with all the day's events that are
register
on there.
That domain.
Homesignage.com. Get it, Chris.
Home digital signage. I guess what it would be residential, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We should look for that at CEDIA.
ResiSignage.com.
I've started to deploy the little reservation signs that these companies are coming out now in each of the bedrooms, so my kids have to reserve it, but I can lock them out, little bastards.
Dad, I need to go to bed. Nope, mine until 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I want to
outside
shower.
Every door.
Tough.
Yeah, looking down the hallway, they're all red. Dad,
in use.
Who's in there? I'm renting it out. You're not using it.
So, and then I'll tell them to go to the big monitor, and you can, if it's touchscreen, it's even better.
Schedule there.
So is this like Airbnb per room in your house, so you can
by square footage.
No, this is
By
this
the
is how
hour?
you
That's a different type of house.
maintain a
Justin.
house with all kinds of little children in it.
Run a
They're
tight
not
ship.
little anymore.
None of this
I
is
didn't
useful
say
to our
no.
listeners, by the way.
All of this is listed.
It's
Every-
as useful
every-
useful
as the
information.
16K monitor is. I mean,
Two
that's
companies
Yeah.
have come out with the reservation systems. I mean, they can't be wrong. So now
Yes,
I'm
they
going to
can.
tie it into this.
These are the same companies who make scheduling panels, and we use the shit out of those.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
$1,500 a pop. No, wait. So did we
Yeah.
kill this one?
It's
I don't know.
neat.
I don't
I
know.
think it was notable about it's 16K, but not really. It's actually 8K upscaled. I just think it's notable that somebody went big with a 110-inch display that is not 21:9, which is great because we've had a lot of announcements of massive displays, and then when you actually do the math on what a 110 is the same size as an 85, and then when you look at the content field, it's actually the size of what, like a 60-inch display or something. So
52.
I just want to make a note.
52-inch display. Thank you.
We started talking about 16K home signage, and then we started talking about door signs.
At 16K, how? Well, don't you have the
It all
highest resolution
fits.
door signage possible?
Yeah.
I got 480i.
I mean, when your kids bring home all their like artwork, don't you scan that in and then put it on your digital home display? That's how you're running it normally, right? Pretty typical workflow.
Yeah,
I guess. I
Of
don't
course
know.
it is.
Yeah. I mean,
I could see that.
yeah,
Sure.
actually, we do take pictures of it. And
Your
then
camera
shoot
can
out
take
across-
16K photos, whatever. This is just giving you like that real lifelike construction paper vision
Like
of
put
what you
somebody's
have.
face
Yeah.
on the entire fridge.
Yeah.
So
I
it
think
scares all the pets
it
in
is
the house.
it is fun to think about, but and we'll see once they. I mean, shoot, we made fun of 8K not too long ago, and Japan's
I never
out there
made fun of 8K.
broadcasting in 8K.
I made fun of 4K. I haven't gotten
made fun of
8K yet.
He's
All right.
still making fun of
But
So a
you're
it.
good
few
with
years
8K
ago,
and 16K.
I made fun of 8K. I was like, who's going to use 8K? We can't even get 1080p correct. And now
That's why I'm still on making fun of 4K, because we haven't gotten to 1080p as being a useful thing yet.
640 by 480.
All right, well, there you go. So look for these sorts of things. So let's call this a preview of the sort of things we're going to see at InfoComm. And if you're listening to this when we think you're listening to this, that's in less than a week. Speaking of InfoComm, which is in less than a week from when you're listening to this, we're doing a ton of stuff at
We are.
InfoComm. And here to tell you all about it is Clacky Fingers Justin. Go.
We're doing stuff. Listen up.
I got him. He was clearly doing some sort of email.
Not only that, but he's got the wrong microphone chosen for us and everything. So we're getting the live experience here
Yeah.
today.
We've tried to
Justin,
tell you.
switch
and
your
let
mic.
you
Oh,
know
yeah,
the
it
whole
switched on me.
Yeah, he switched
Good
on you.
Lord.
For we
Come
will
on.
be opening up the show every morning
There we go.
on the floor. So what is that? Staring booth.
Thanks
8
for
a.m.?
joining us in the room, Justin.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey,
Thanks
I'm
for coming
back.
along. So when
Sorry,
when
I was off in the bathroom over there.
Yeah, getting work done. So when you kick the
yeah,
doors open every morning, we will be there greeting you.
Good point. We will be on the show floor before you can get on the show floor every morning doing a live recording, and we'll get that uploaded as fast as we can. But yeah, we're there. What time are we doing? Larry, is it 8:30? 8 o'clock?
Early.
We're in there at 8. By the time we start recording, I'm sure it'll be 8:10 or whatever. But yeah, we'll be in there and out.
Come in there. Come say hi. We have some good stuff to give away to you. Come say hi to us if you.
Oh, that's right. We have special swag, which we're going to
Special
tell you right
stuff.
now is we're not going to tell you what it is.
Nope. Come get it. It's very limited. You got to be in the cool kid club to get it. So come say hi to us and sign up.
How many of those did we get?
a lot.
100 is the official count. So at
And we'll
least
have lots of content being released throughout the week. So as you're stuck on the bus getting back to your hotels or whatever, you can download from all the normal places and find out. Our conversation about 16K will probably happen about other products, only we'll actually have the manufacturer there to answer all those hard questions, like why? That's a really hard question.
Like,
How
why
many
did you make
Ks do
this
I need?
product?
yeah.
So it'll be fun. I think I'm excited to get out there, and we'll have lots of good stuff to coming your way.
Yeah, so come say hi to us, get your free stuff, and get your personal invite to the Discord channel. Come see us.
Well, not so much a personal invite as much as a concierge service to force you to create account, log in, and join right there on the fly.
Yeah, our support team will be with us. All of our interns and the whole team will be there.
They will hold you down and make you log in. So, yeah, lots going on in InfoComm. By the time you get to the show floor every day, we will have already been there, recorded a show, touched everything, and left. So, it's, we'll be across the street at that Irish pub.
Yeah,
which I think is called the Pub of all things.
Oh yeah,
clever.
The pub.
Yeah, Justin knows how to order another round.
Ordering rounds. Cool. All right. Well, come see us. Say hi.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break and come back, and we're gonna talk about some challenges in hiring and finding qualified staff.
Hey y'all, I've got this new show I gotta tell you about. It's called AVSF Live. That's LIVE exclamation point. First off, all you need to do is go to avsf.live.live, not .com, not .net, but .live. Yes, it's a website, does work. We're going to try out this new live video thing. It's probably going to go over like a hair in a biscuit. You got to check it out. Come to the tweeters and look us up on LinkedIn to find out more information. We'll see y'all soon.
We did it.
It's a hair in a biscuit.
Like a hair in a biscuit,
commercial
man.
ever.
I think we all like that commercial. All right, so for our first topic today, this is an article. It's an article-heavy show today. Link in the show notes from EDUCAUSE, the arbiter of all things education. And by the way, the owner of the top-level domain .edu, they will not sell it to me. I keep trying.
Keep trying to buy it. Just send them like random offers.
Mm-hmm. Every couple of months, send them another card.
Well, let's play. How
$50.
much cash does Chris have in his wallet today?
You want to play that game?
$19.
$5.50.
$7.
Two.
I have
Two
$2.
Blu-rays.
Oh man.
Two
You
singles.
must have bought us Snickers yesterday or something.
You can't even get the cover charge in most bars in a college town with $2.
No, not anymore.
I don't.
I
What
still
the heck
don't
cover
understand
charge has
why
ever
you
been
carry
$2?
cash. Like, why do you always have like $1 to $5 on you every day?
1
See,
to
I
5.
spend cash that has different denominations, and then the vendor gives me back.
Where do you spend
change.
cash at?
Seriously.
He's in
I carried
Wyoming.
a $5 bill with me for like 6 months now.
Can't give it away.
That's
Nobody
my point,
wants
Larry.
it.
Justin, do I have to
what
explain
cash-
the economy
what
that
cash
like
looks like?
money can be exchanged for goods and services at local
But they
vendors?
look at you
That
funny when you
seems-
try to do that now.
I know.
seems
By the way, I have
difficult.
noticed that, especially in a college town where like kids now realize they have to then like make
Like, I don't-
change.
Let me see what this prints out in front of me. That's $1.25. I don't. What does that mean?
Yeah. How do I make 83 cents?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
The world we live
Well,
in.
speaking of people who can't do math, challenges in finding qualified applicants for jobs. So anyway, this comes from EDUCAUSE in their article titled "Pivoting to Higher Ed: 4 Ways to Successfully Recruit Tech Job Applicants." I thought this was an interesting article just from the standpoint of, I think all of us, have either been trying to hire or trying to get hired by different organizations over the last year.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say trying to hire or trying to fire. I was like hell bent. That's what you were going to say.
I almost said that at the beginning about hiring and then eventually firing qualified applicants.
That's what I thought you were going to do.
But it's been a recognized challenge of just like, how do we find, first of all, how do we find people? And then how do we find qualified and the right people for our jobs? And so this article basically covers some ideas about how to make your job listing stand out. But I don't know, I figured, what do you guys think? Is this valid information, or is this just somebody using Chat GPT to meet their article quota for the month?
I was very disappointed in the article.
Whoa.
How'd you feel about it, though?
Yeah.
I was pretty disappointed at the article. I think the way that they wrote an article based upon the opinions of hiring and higher ed from 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. The modernization, the businessification of higher ed.
That's not a word.
Biznification
now.
or businessification?
It is
We'll
now,
give you
and
points for both, but I just want to make sure we know what you're talking
It's going to
about.
be on a sticker next year, by God.
You
Biznification.
can put anything on a sticker now. That doesn't count.
I
Oh,
fully
sorry.
back Jamie's new word.
That's James'
But I
word.
think
Biznification.
that means a
I
lot
own
coming
that.
from
Thank you.
the king
Thank
of
you.
making up new words.
Exactly.
Yeah, he can
no,
coin
but
things.
I think that that we're starting to see a lot of higher ed institutions get rid of the really liberal leave policies, and we're starting to see them cut back on some of the tuition. We're starting to, and the bottom line now is they're not even close in the salary. So all of those little side benefits don't mean as much, because if you're 20 grand short, you can't make that up in the side benefit. I love the side benefits of higher ed, so don't get me wrong there. But if it's $5,000, okay, I'm willing to come back and maybe take a little less to get all the extra. But I'm not so sure that a lot of the benefits they have on there.
Still cracks me.
There's
Jamie,
a lot of
I
people
agree
that want
with
to talk.
you
Larry,
for most of the article. The one thing that still counts,
But here's where you're wrong.
Educational.
is point 4, that work-life balance. Like, I've spent 13 years with a commercial integrator. Like, that pay cut you take going to higher ed is still more dollars per hour because of the amount of hours I'm not working on the weekends and on evenings.
I want to
now.
side more with Larry on this, just because, as you know, I don't get paid anything at my college. And
I got $2 for you.
Volunteer services.
Rexy
didn't wanna
Consulting
leave.
has been a known
Yeah.
low payer.
yeah, and I decided I didn't want to leave Bowling Green, so I just created my own business, and that was my way of getting income. But running a business in the private sector and doing full integration, like, I just want to go stick my head in the sand right now. I got 3 hours of sleep last night trying to keep everything afloat. So it's definitely not fun.
but
and
that's
you
what
gotta
Justin,
know
you're
ways
doing
to
two
get out.
jobs.
That's running your own business. I think anybody who's
I know,
entrepreneurial
but
and are out there doing
still,
their own
yeah.
thing knows and signs up that they're going to like be burning the candle at both ends. That's
I don't know,
the
though.
sign
I
up
didn't
for
really
that.
sign up for that. I just
It's
wanted
just
to...
been it's just been hard to, like, again, I really utilize the work-life balance, you know, with having
yeah.
a multitude
So, let-
of children
on
and all
that.
these after-school activities. But at some point,
Well, the younger
the jobs
generation...
I've been looking at, like,
Okay, let's pause.
Man.
Let's do a check-in. Is your work-life balance better now than it was before?
Before what?
5 years
thank
ago,
you,
10 years,
Chris.
when you
Before
started in higher ed. Better
Before
or
I
worse?
started in higher ed,
When you first got into higher ed, what was your work-life balance then
I
versus
didn't have a
what it
work
is now?
life. I was 20 years old when I started in higher ed.
Is it better or worse, Jamie? Let's start there.
probably
Long
equal.
pause.
You think it's equal? Okay.
Well, I came out of broadcast. I came out of radio. I was the morning person. So my work-life balance, I was done by noon every day, right? Now I had to get up at 4:30, but I spent 8 years doing that. And then in the afternoons, I was still able to take a quick nap, get all of my babies from daycare and everything, and still have a work-life balance. Had the occasional gigs and things that promotional crap, but I probably was equal. But radio doesn't pay anything, so even just moving to higher ed was a race.
So let me put a bit of a facet in this conversation. I think early on in my higher education career, the work-life balance was better. As you move through that trajectory, you change your position. And I think you start to have a more burden that becomes greater. And I think my work-life balance is probably not as good now as it once was because of business process and just kind of what's happening in higher education lately. I think there's still a lot of benefit to it, but I think entry level, it's great. But as you move up into management, I think that diminishes.
But wouldn't that be the same thing if you were on the commercial side? Like as you move up a commercial integrator, you're more responsibility.
Yes, it does.
And
But
more.
Linearly, yeah. I mean,
But I don't know. And that's where I think that I'm not sure if the AV vertical fits this article very well. Because
And I think it was written for IT in general, right?
Maybe, yeah. I think
mean,
it
coming from
generically was.
EDUCAUSE, I read it as being tech jobs, period. So
Yeah,
all of tech, quotation marks.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's one of the reflection points I've kind of had is that while the work-life balance is still good, I think there's a lot of pressure to run higher ed IT like a no shit business, like a Fortune 500 business, and a lot of those benefits are starting to be squeezed out. I don't know. Correct me on this, Chris. Squeezed.
Just a scotch.
Yes, I feel like there's pressure to
to
do more of like, this is how it runs at the other high-tech industries around the world, non-higher education. That's how we're going to model ourselves. And so I think those side benefits are directly threatened by that philosophy.
And that's where my disappointment lied, is I don't disagree with the things they wrote. And those are all the things we always try to sell people when they're trying to come into higher ed. Like, you get all these things. Those 4 points are legit. They're not as legit as they used to be. And the gaps between the private sector's pay scale and the higher ed pay scale are large enough now where those 4 benefits don't overcome that gap. And that's where I mean, look, I've had to look into this several times recently, and I've had some very serious thoughts about changing something like that, because that gap now in the salary range was big enough to overtake the benefits that working in higher ed are. So that's my problem with that higher ed article, is it sound like right now today you can increase your employee load and make all of your things better because of these 4 things. But I think those 4 things are getting so drastically cut that they don't work anymore. I think there needs to be this equity in the pay scales to make that work. We want to reduce insurance. We want to reduce PTO. We want to reduce some of these other benefits that they were talking about because it's cheaper for the business of higher ed. But we don't want to increase the business part, the money part of higher ed. It's really strange.
So
that's my disappointment.
The part I thought that was interesting as well is the cellular region community and cost of living. As far as I know, college towns are not cheap to live in.
Yeah. Most, but depending on where you're coming from, then yes. And I made this mistake about 15 years ago, and I took a job to Jamie's point, for a big salary, and because I'm a genius, didn't actually directly compare cost of living. Well, I did, but I didn't. Let me rephrase.
In the Bay Area,
was it?
It was San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay.
Geez.
Bay Area,
yeah. So
cheap down there.
Well, it is now. Just stumble through the needles and human feces everywhere. But
we're gonna pay you $100,000 to bale hay. That sounds great.
So, that'd be sweet.
Move to San Francisco.
But the cost of living thing is a factor on some of these things. And Jamie, you're right. If someone comes out and says, "Look, here's $200,000," and you're like, that's huge. And then you start doing the cost of living thing.
Every house is $1.2 million.
Well, yeah, and there's that. So it can all chew up that benefit. And then you're like, look, at the end of the day, after all these things are taken into account, the difference is $12,000, and I'm spending 60 hours, 80 hours, 90 hours a week on this job. Is it worth it? So.
Now,
answer is no.
Answer's no. So yeah, there you go. Solve that question for you right
Larry,
now.
I was surprised that you didn't take number 3 and really the tuition benefits. I would have thought that you would have been the big advocate of that.
There is such a variance from university to university with that. Like when I was at Butler, you got free tuition, your kid got free tuition, your wife got free tuition. In the NC system, I get 3 classes a year. And so it's such a variable that I can't say that across higher ed it's that good, because my commercial integrator I used to work for would give me tuition benefits for 3 classes a year. It's no different.
This is one of the points I'm surprised that universities haven't leaned heavier on and said, hey, we're going to recruit you, and when we're here, we really want you to we're going to give you all your family, and it's going to just be free. Not going to be a reduction. It's going to be full on no shit free while you're here, and we want you to take advantage of it. And in fact, we're going to make that part of your plan. We want to see you develop yourself. To me, that seemed like a no-brainer, but you don't see a lot of universities really leaning into that.
Well, so I've been at Western so long, I've kind of seen all these things getting taken away from me. So yeah, I mean, it's the tuition benefits have been reduced. They've always touted health benefits and retirement and all this stuff. All that's getting reduced and been chopped down.
Yeah, you're never retiring.
So yeah, I mean,
retire. What is that? I think we're removing that word from the lexicon, are we not? It's just
all that stuff's going away, and they're not increasing salaries either.
It is now equated to death, retirement and death.
To me, it's just doing some other type of job that you're not too adverse to doing. until you die.
Like climbing stairs and eating at 4.
And by the way, everybody listening, we're not trying to scare you off higher education here. That's not what we're doing.
No, I think the point here is that, it was a decent article of how, because everybody's griping about finding qualified staff, finding people who want to be here. And I think the article's attempt to help us sell working for us. But I'm like, God, I mean, these are the things that would sold me 20 years ago when I made the move.
Are there things that are
10 years
missing?
ago.
Are there things that they didn't talk about on here? Because
So
there's things I would recognize.
I will say this, as somebody who's gone through this and been hiring people left and right, two comments come to mind. One, the best applicants I've had are people who either have in the past worked in higher ed or who currently work in higher ed. So we're kind of eating our own on that one. But as far as things that the article missed, it missed like, hey, don't use HR's boilerplate terrible job listings, because they will take, especially in a state system, but a lot of private schools do the same thing. They have a structured job description, a position description for each of these roles, and they will simply top and tail that with some boilerplate stuff about how awesome the school and the local region is, and roll that out, and they're done. And that doesn't catch anybody's eye. It doesn't, it's not useful. It's because they have to, because there's so many jobs, because everybody's quitting universities. They can't spend the time writing custom job descriptions anymore. Well, what I was saying,
template.
As the hiring manager, I see that as my role to write the custom job description. So don't rely on HR's thing. You're right. I mean, they have to boilerplate and run it out because it's automatic, but they're covering the entire institution. They've got hundreds of positions they're working on, or dozens of positions, depending on the size of your school.
Hundreds of dozens.
Dozens of hundreds. But you need yours to stand out when it goes out there. And then also you have to do your own kind of recruiting of blasting it out on listservs and part of message boards and things your communities are part of. So that aspect is not covered at all here. Is like the actual, like, here's how to like get the word out on stuff. So when I'm in little old Laramie, Wyoming, and I'm getting applicants from Chicago and North Carolina, and they're coming from all over because they're at least seeing that, like, oh, this was written interesting. It's worth a 30-minute phone call at least to talk to this person.
The other thing that I think that they're kind of missing is in higher ed, we're very invested in the growth of our employees. Like, if you show any interest at all in programming, I'm going to send you to so many programming classes, you will hate it by the end of the time.
And I think, so I'm with you. This is what I was going to say, the same thing. I really, to Mark's credit, not just tuition. We really, and that's one of the things I tell people, to really lean on using the university to improve your skill set and blah, blah, blah. So if you want the next job, you can. If not, you are at least progressing. You're not stagnant where you are. I've been telling, the high school seniors that are graduating with my kids, I'm like, what do you want to go into? Well, networking and securities. I said, great. Whenever you get to campus, apply for the job of network infrastructure, because you will get 4 years of
real
awesome
life
experience. And they'll pay you for it. And you're rigged and ready to go. And I think that article really missed the boat on that. Yeah. To Larry's point of the internal dedication to say, we want to make you better because we realize that's how we get, it's twofold, right? We get the most productivity out of you. And second, to make you, if you want to go, more valuable to go or move up or do whatever you're going to do. And that goes for PCs, that goes for networking, that goes for AV. That's all of tech in education. Yeah,
I agree. I think anybody who's in college, I doubt they're listening to this, but if they were, if you have people that are in college, that if you're even just slightly interested in a technology career, you can go get exposed to a lot of different technology paths by working in your IT department within your organization. Your IT organization is at a university, right? Where I think in the private sector, you got to go pick one specific little thing and you're going to go hope to get that one, tiny little exact fit, where you can come in at a university thinking you're going to do one thing, and find out right away, no, I'm really interested in that. What's that called? And then learn and retool yourself with the assistance of the university to become highly valuable in the thing you've actually aligned and said, yes, I'm really interested in that thing.
That's exactly how I found AV. I didn't even know this industry existed until I just came across it at WKU as a graduate assistant. So,
and then the other part of the thing was, I wanted to kind of go around the room a little bit here, is how many recruiting failures have you seen recently?
Recruiting failures? Like
jobs
like
open,
job
failed searches. Yeah.
Failed searches. Okay.
That's all we have.
Okay.
A lot.
Do you think
all of them?
What's some of the top reasonings?
It's mostly the pay gap. Yeah, it's mostly pay gap. I mean,
It's
legit for us, it's pay gap.
Okay.
yeah, it's pay gap is the start of it, which equates to applicants that don't have the experience that you require.
Is this my experience recently? And we've got a couple failed ones. We'll go through the applicant pool, and there'll be like one or two people. I'm like, this person's really solid, but I know right away that they're going to withdraw their application. Like, they're too good to be true. That keeps happening. Like, the top candidate keeps withdrawing, and so when I go through, I'm like, all right, who's my third or fourth person in line? Because they're probably going to be the ones that are going to be hanging out here. And do I have a deep enough applicant pool to even get that far? Chris, you've been doing a bunch of this. What's been your experience?
Well, do you have feedback on why they're not taking the job, or is it
most of them
is money?
I found another opportunity.
Just more money, probably.
Or they're leveraging
Yep.
interest from you to somebody else
To raise their salary where they work
yeah,
currently.
which is fine. I mean, hey, if you're getting underpaid at your current organization, company, institution, whatever, but you like it there and you're able to leverage that for, another 10 or 15 grand, hey, by all means do it. So to your question, Mark, I've had a couple of failed searches in the sense where either I've had the top candidate, we get all the way to the offer stage and they roll out. And then by then it's because we're working through the bureaucracy side of things, every step along the way with HR takes like a week or week and a half or 2 weeks. And I know a lot of these candidates, and some of them are honest about it, they're blasting out their resume to a bunch of places to see what's out there. And if they're my number two and I'm trying to, set the hook in number one to get them on board, and then they drop out for whatever reason, then you go back to the number two. Well, it's been 3 weeks. Yeah, they may have moved on to somebody else or something. So it is a challenge. And now, granted, the biggest challenge I've had personally, not personally, but I mean here, in my experience, is the location. Some people want to live in a small town and I'll be honest, in the middle of nowhere. Some of us love that because, your commute is 8 minutes and, there's no traffic and it's great. And,
but you're out there in the middle of nowhere though, right?
Well, it's not quite the middle of nowhere, but you can see it from
where. Yeah.
Beat you to it. And for some people, that's a huge change to move. Like I had a really good candidate for a position last fall but they were coming from Larry, from your area in North Carolina. They're coming from Charlotte. And that's a big shift to move from, even though they would consider they live in a small town outside of Charlotte, but small town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina is different from small town in Laramie, Wyoming. There's no Charlotte 20 minutes down the road. Denver's 2 hours away. But that is a huge shift. So that's somewhat unique here, that I'm dealing with a small town that is remote and rural. And again, some of us like that, but that's not a good fit for every person out there.
Yeah.
So that process has been challenging at times to try to get candidates through, to the point where I've had to, at times, even rewrite the position descriptions to change required qualifications to preferred qualifications with timelines behind them, to say, like, I'd love someone to come on board with these three things, but I can change that to, it would be great if they had these three things or the ability to get those three things within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's that's been just, and I don't know if that's a direct reflection of the time we're in or just the location, but it has been a challenge.
I like how you rewrite the things, because I know from the applicant side going out, right, that there are jobs that I fit all the requirements for that when you finally get into it, let's go back to the pay thing. It's an entry level position for the requirements that you have. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I'm going backwards to do the exact same thing I'm doing now. And I like that. And they're like, well, this is just what the description says. I like, Chris, that you say, hey, look, tailor your description to fit what you need and be realistic. Because I saw one in central Iowa just last week. And it was basically the me in central Iowa. And I go, huh. And I had to look up they didn't even list the pay range. It was the Iowa job code. So you have to look up Iowa job codes in order to find it.
Pay range code.
Yes. And then it was what we, again, central Iowa is not the highest hotbed of, money.
It might be.
But
who knows?
it was.
Yeah. How do you know?
I know this one. But it was what we pay our entry level people here. And I'm like, you wanted a professional for entry level payment, and something's not meshing. So what is it?
So you're actually
I like
making
that you rewrite the codes.
Kind of part of my next piece of this is that in IT, the AV segment, if you really want to call it a segment, I'm seeing that those are more often than not typically the entry level pieces. At least a lot of universities tend to, but I'm not saying every one. I see a lot of the things that we would identify as AV aligned services are typically along the lines of what you would see as entry level pay rates. I see a lot of that. And I think from coming
Do you think
out
that's
of
a reflection of that position existing years ago? Let me rephrase that position line, that salary line existing years before, and they keep stacking requirements on there.
Probably, I don't
but
think
not,
there's one
not
silver
adjusting
bullet
the
reasoning.
salary.
I think it's a red flag to anybody who's listening to this that's like looking for things that are AV. If there's these delineations where this is audio, video, and there's not like more general IT things, I think that organization's probably not viewing it correctly. The other point I was going to make that in the height of everything that was going on over the last 3 years, we saw a lot of IT and tech-enabled jobs that had pay ranges that were astronomical. Like there was a lot of increase. I've seen that floor drop out over the last 6 months across the board, higher education and non-higher education. I've seen things that a year and a half ago were $200,000 jobs now being posted at $65,000 to $70,000. Like it just fell out. Drastic.
I have seen market right size, I guess. So there were things a year and a half ago, 10 months ago, that had been relisted and are less.
I've seen things that we would identify as salary-based positions now hourly-based positions that are it's radical.
At the same rate or at like a reduction in rate?
At a reduction of rate.
Do you think that's just equivalent to the budgets going down over time?
I think there's a lot of uncertainty in a lot of business case out there. And I think people are very reluctant to kind of pay any type of premium right now. I think everybody's kind of bottom fishing. If they can get somebody, they will. And I think that reflects on my next kind of point is where have we had success? And we have had a lot of success hiring out of the student pool, transitioning from full-time students to full-time employment recently. It's in-house a lot, but that's where we've actually changed some of our positions to allow that. Say, hey, do you want to apply for the full-time position and take advantage of that scholarship benefit? Kind of going like hand in hand.
That's an interesting approach. You mentioned that a while ago, and I've not had people here respond incredibly positively to it. They're not opposed to it.
It's been probably in the few committees I've been on recently, the bulk of the applicants have all been from the student pool.
Interesting.
And whether they're in our organization or some other part of the IT organization, which I think speaks to that earlier point that you can be exposed to a lot of different pieces in IT and find a different pathway to success. And I'm all about it being a stepping stone, kind of going back to what we said, that come in here, get some experience and move on. If that's what it means, it makes management a little more difficult. But if you kind of own that and say, okay, what can I do to make this person better later on? If I can't pay them the maximum amount of money, how can I arm them and retool them to make them worth maximum when they leave here?
So you're saying that students are applying for full-time positions while they're an undergrad as student?
Yep, they have to leave that. They have to leave undergrad. They are no longer a full-time student.
They have to leave undergrad?
Mm-hmm. They're no longer full-time.
They have to give back everything they've learned.
They just go to part-time student at that point. But what's worth more? I mean, think about just the economy of education.
So you're saying basically they're just flipping that. They're going from part-time employee, full-time student to full-time employee, part-time student, but they get the added tuition benefit to hopefully offset some of that
later on down
the road.
They're
making money.
And they're making money.
Plus they're making
money.
And
they're getting real-world experience.
Yeah, good point.
I think it's a win-win.
And that's the last few of our successful ones have been that. And they've even come in saying, look, you have me for 3.5 years, 4 if I get my master's, and then I'll probably move on. But here's my expertise. I'm here. I'm dedicated. My wife's in school too. We're going to get the tuition assistance and we're going to rock and roll this thing, but you got me. I've been encouraging all kinds of kids to do that very thing. Use your freshman year to get there and get as a student job, and then take the full-time gig, because by then they're wanting to move off campus anyway. By then they're wanting to do these other things. And most of us, let's face it, on this call, most of us would be like, oh, you have a 2 to 4 class? Great. Go get them, Tiger. And we're just going to let them go.
I have kids in high school contacting me about engineering positions right now.
What?
They're still in high school. And we can hire high school students as long as they are a student somewhere. We can actually hire them.
We get a lot of kickback about this, where there's been debates.
Kickback or pushback? Because
a little bit.
Kickback's money.
I know Western Kentucky does things differently, but
a little bit.
I'll hire you, but 10% of that comes back to me. That's the deal.
Whatever you want to call it.
It's like being a parole
Are
officer.
we sure that as a university we want to be hiring people without degrees? What does that say about us?
No, you're talking about the higher ed fallacy thing.
That gets brought up a lot.
But this, I think, it's all erring back on the side of student experience, right? And enrollment and all that. So if I get a student who's unsure where they're going to enroll, and this may not be happening right now. Student contacts me and says, I'm really interested in this engineering position. Can you tell me more about it? I haven't yet enrolled at university, but I'd love to come and talk about what potential employment opportunities exist for me. And I said, sure, let's come in. I'll tour the spaces. We can talk about what a day-to-day looks like and give you some examples of what we're doing. And if he or she makes a decision to come to this university, think about how much that means to the university and that student, right? They're getting the enrollment. The student's getting a real-world experience as an employed. And yeah, it's a student position, but they're going to be exposed to all those different things. And he has the skill set that I'm looking for already, prerequisite. I'm not even like actively recruiting. I just have a general pool out there, right? And so those types of situations, I think you'll see more. You'll see students that are currently in high school looking for opportunities so they can work while they're actually being educated. So I don't know. It's interesting. And it kind of goes back to how do you place these types of positions out there, like you were saying, Chris, or how do you write them? How do you make them interesting to the audience that's going to read them? And my take is probably do less spear fishing for the top end and focus on the bottom part where you're probably going to get more interest.
Well, and it's maybe Larry, you've raised this, like, do you hire specifically to like programming? Do you hire a programmer or do you grow a programmer? And like that's like an endless debate.
You gotta grow them.
Yeah, there's too much culture.
You can't afford a real programmer.
I'm going to find a unicorn who has every certification I need, and I'm going to pay him $62,000 a year. Yeah,
to move to the middle of nowhere.
And there's a reason.
Is that on your website right now? I'll apply.
All right. Well, interesting narrative around that article, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that the general approach to hiring staff and the challenge of hiring staff needs to be rethought. Doing it the same way we did it 7 or 8 years ago is just it's not gonna cut the mustard, to coin a phrase. I don't know. Any last thoughts from the rest of you guys? Anything we missed on that? Otherwise, I'll just push a button and we'll move on.
Push the button.
Push the button. This button. Psst, hey, come here a minute. You want to hang out with the AV Super Friends more often, like every day, at odd hours? Well, we're not going to do that. That's weird. Why would you want to do that? However, we are hosting our own Discord server, and we're inviting you to join. And to keep things exclusive to AVSF supporters and listeners, we're going to make you jump through a single hoop to get there. Here's how. You have to request an invite. That's it. Okay, how do you do that? Well, you can submit a message via the contact form on our website, avsuperfriends.com. Or you can email us, mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. Or you can DM us on Twitter, @avsuperfriends. Or you can send us a message on LinkedIn. Yes, it's avsuperfriends. Or you can shout really, really loud. That might not work. But keep trying anyway. You're going to get locked up if you do that. Or you can drive past AVSF World Headquarters in lovely, scenic Centralia, Pennsylvania, and throw a rock through our window. Just write your name on it. Also keep shouting. Or send a self-addressed stamped envelope to AVSF Discord, P.O. Box 169, Egmouth, Minnesota Nuts 0042. I'm not sure about that last one. It sounds fake. So there you go. We want you to join our Discord server. It's our little corner of the internet to share ideas, ask questions, brainstorm, complain about industry trends, or name and shame people, products, and organizations. And as an added bonus, if you act today, you'll receive one of Justin's dogs. He's got like 7 of them. Also, you'll get access to live broadcasts of our audio-only recording sessions. Seriously, you'll get to listen to us before the show is published as a polished and edited MP3. So what are you waiting for? Join us now.
I can't believe you read that just live like that, Chris.
It was live. Did the whole thing.
I always forget how many dogs I
ear.
have until I listen to that commercial.
You do have
It's hard
a
to keep
bunch of
track of
dogs.
them. Yeah.
Tell me about
Periodically
it.
shows up with another one.
I know.
How many do you have, actually? I don't even know. What's
Yeah, how many dogs?
4 plus a cat.
So
Is that
5.
cat a dog, too?
It sometimes acts like
Talking
one.
kids or cats?
Yes.
Cats, dogs.
My
Or
rule
dogs.
for a dog is it has to be bigger than a cat. It's not a dog unless it's bigger than a cat.
That's all true here in this household, yes.
Okay.
Some of your dogs are bordering on horse size too. So
They're freaking. I got a huge pit puppy right now that's going to be bigger than an elephant. I can't wait.
you can get that
Picking
on
up that
TV.
poop on the side of the road. Are we still in a show?
This is live.
Yes, we're live right now. Justin,
Yeah,
so
we're here.
Okay.
keep
And
sharing
that's
your
why
pet
it's
raising texts.
off the
All right.
rails.
Yeah.
So
What were we
last
talking
topic is related to what we just talked about there towards the end of our discussion of hiring. So this is Avixa has and again, link in the show notes. So link heavy show today. Avixa has a bunch of scholarships for the students working there. So I think more of just general information. Justin, I am going to turn this one over to you, despite you trying to write an email right now. I can see you doing it.
Don't touch that
No,
keyboard.
actually, I closed out that page and I'm reopening it. So
it's opening.
Trying to find a
email.
link. He's like, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, damn it, I have to know about this. Because when you were part of the Avixa Foundation, you were involved in this process.
This is
but
where I
there's
first met Justin. Never saw
when
him.
you were applying for the
Foundation
scholarship.
Yeah, you and Don were like slinging student like
we were probably,
scholarships somehow. I don't know what was going on.
We
there.
were probably communicating and
Yeah.
didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
I guess.
No,
Because I remember I was on the board when somebody from Oregon State won it, and I
Yeah, we had
voted
like a
for
whole
Did-
herd of students go through this.
Did
Yeah.
you swipe left or right or whatever you have to do?
Tell us
It
what
is
it
a
is,
little
Justin. What
like
is it? What
that.
the hell are we talking
Yeah,
about?
so tell us about these scholarships available for students through Avixa and through the foundation.
So there's 3 scholarships now. I think when I was on the board, there were 2. The one of them, Michael Vergowan Scholarship, it's targeted towards students in pursuit of a technical advanced degree. And then there's this Elevate Scholarship, that's new, or they renamed it, supports the growth of women and gender equality,
Equality.
equals, whatever, equity, yeah.
It's
Read
not
that
one for
wrong.
reading, apparently.
Mosaic Scholarship, that's the one. Let's see, inclusivity,
That's also not a word.
Come on.
belonging within our community.
Inclusion,
So
yeah.
they've obviously changed these since I've been on the board. It was a really interesting process. Most of the scholarships that come in, like, oh, I've done some video editing. But the ones that always came in from Oregon State, like, yeah, I work on DSPs and rewire stuff. Or like, let's just give it to those guys. They're actually doing stuff. So that was kind of the process summed up in about 5 minutes. But it's a great opportunity for
It's like
younger
40
folks.
seconds.
Huh?
Go ahead.
It's a great opportunity for younger students and younger folks to, I don't even know what you said, and it was funny, to get exposed to our industry and to realize what it is. Because as before I was saying on the show, I didn't realize this was an industry until I was 22, 23, 24 years old.
It's like last
And
year.
then
right?
you exposed yourself to that
Like
industry.
last year.
Great.
But now if these students are getting exposed more in 16, 17, 18,
Well,
you know,
I think
that
this
would
was
be
a
great.
response to that. Everybody recognized there was no formal pathway to AV.
No, there's not.
Right? We didn't recognize you don't go to college for AV.
It's only
It's not a
surface
thing.
pathway.
You can now, actually.
You can now, but there
there's
wasn't
a few
before.
colleges out
But-
there that
This happened, and this was really about anybody remotely interested in, and even if they were in school, say they're in business, and they knew that there was a marketing side of AV. Those students were also welcome to apply for this. It wasn't that you had to build racks and sling projectors and DSPs and displays.
No.
Anybody that could have a skill that could be useful anywhere in the AV vertical, anywhere, anything that a business could offer, that's where this was earmarked
the video
for, right?
editing ones that we got a lot of those, and it was really difficult to shoehorn those into the commercial AV world because there was a lot of pushback within Avixa. Like, that's not what this industry is about. It's not about post-production.
Yeah,
could be. But so we had students who go through, like you said, and
yeah,
it wasn't a single time thing. It was very, I don't want to say it's work heavy, but there's reporting. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing that's relevant to AV? There is a report you do. It does go through. Then you are also kind of teamed up with people within the industry to get some different perspective from different manufacturers for some instances, where you'll do some site tours, all available. And it can vary. Mileage may vary depending on the applicant. And all of our students, or at least a good chunk, also got the invite to go attend InfoComm.
Yep.
At the end as well. And so they kind of got that taken care of, travel and hotel and the like, and which was great for them to go see the industry at that piece, right? I think that was really important as to follow up after going through it, doing reports, talking about the different business models and all the different pieces, to then go see that kind of the epicenter of where it all happens, and for students to see how much opportunity actually exists was kind of like the icing on that cake.
Yep. There was I think 2 or 3 pools of money, and these scholarships are not going away. They are well funded. And so I assume they're actually going to probably grow. So you might actually see more. If you are at a university and you're listening to this and you are not utilizing this scholarship opportunity, you are missing out.
Yeah, definitely use it. And it's money for the students to be using at college, not just for InfoComm or whatever it is. They can use that wherever.
Isn't one of them for like Avixa membership and training opportunities, or is that a different program?
I think that's
it could be
different program that we were trying 3 or 4 years ago. We were trying to figure out how to get a free membership to the award winners, and it just wasn't. There was some difficulty of doing that.
Some bookkeeping challenges.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it worked, but I thought maybe there was opportunity for trainings in it, but it wasn't tied to that money. There's free trainings as part of this as well.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering. So
that was a lot easier to deal with than the whole membership, because that's different.
I think a lot of our students went in and they did like the AV tech trainings. They got access to that whole back end, and they went wild.
Yeah, I bet.
So Justin, from the standpoint of people applying for it, it's really targeted to those who want to continue in the commercial AV industry.
The goal is from Avixa to, when these people apply, to keep them in the industry and follow them through their career and make sure they succeed. Now, does that always happen? No, but I would hope that it happens more often than not. So this is the pathway into the industry. It's a well-paved pathway into the industry.
Yeah, it's funded, and you get the experience. You can see it, and you kind of get that.
It's like a work study.
Yeah, it's in a weird way. It's kind of like that internship, right? But it's really not. That you have an inside view where students can go see that and like, oh, I didn't know I could do this or that or whatever it may be, and you're meeting the people. You're building those relationships before you're even out of college, right? So you're getting kind of have a fast pass of sorts where you have identified some opportunities. Like, I can go do this thing. I know this person works in engineering in that organization or this organization. And you're putting names to faces, and that goes a long way in your career development.
I don't know how many applicants they have now, but when I was reviewing applicants, we were deciding between 4, 5, 6 people, and that was it. Across the entire nation, 6 people would apply. So your chances are pretty good. So everybody out there listening, just figure out how to apply. If
you listening to this and you have student workers in your organization, be sure to definitely check that link in the show notes and forward that to all of your students. They need to apply for this for some free monies and some experience.
I would hope that would have changed over 3 years, and they're getting more applicants now. But
I thought you meant getting free monies out of it. But it says applications open through September 3rd, so they do have a little bit of time. But probably want to start working on this process.
Yeah, cool.
Good opportunities here for students currently interested in commercial AV in some way, shape, or form. Get some money to offset some tuition bills, and then they can go work full-time for Marc and part-time as a student for the other half of that.
That's right.
Free college. Mark just said it.
Come get it.
And
There's a will, there's a way. All right. Well, do we make it?
It's that or come up with something more reasonable.
Yeah, or just take a bunch of loans. Figure it out later on. Punt that.
Yeah, loans are great. Just do that.
Just punt it to the future. Bank on the future being
And
better
just
than
don't
now.
pay your loans off.
That's future
It'll work
me's
out.
problem, not today me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, like we said earlier on, come see us at the show, on the show floor, InfoComm.
Or
Be
we'll
there.
come
We'll
see
be
you.
around.
We'll come
Hit us
find
up.
you.
Free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff?
I want to pay for it. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients. Maltese track?
Get all that noise chatter from Justin.
I'll type softly.
Who has a louder keyboard, Justin or Larry?
Who knows?
Ready, set, go.
Hold on.
Quick brown fox jumped. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, somebody left.
Whatever you just did kicked Larry out of the call. Your keyboard is so loud.
It's awesome.
You
We are now
disconnected Larry just by the acoustics of your cherry brown switches or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah. Very much
First,
like
you got to
Zoom.
join and then hang up.
I found it. And now there's all sorts of unread messages
Welcome
everywhere.
to the internet. You made it.
Good Lord.
We were keeping it warm for you.
Talk about a house of cards. We've got like 7 layers deep on things stacked on top
This
of
is
each
Inception at its worst. Yeah.
other. Yeah. Good. Don't ever do this. We need a better system.
This is the best you can get for low budget.
It's like Gillette if Gillette was not the best you can get. So
And start the show.
Yeah, if you're watching, you're welcome. Yeah.
yes.
That
Fire.
was, that
Get
was
us going, Chris.
terrible.
Get us
Where's my
going.
intro over here? And this is my outro. And screw it. All right, ready?
Waiting on you.
No.
No.
Larry says no.
Do it.
Do it.